All right, it is district breakdown time. We are joined by Matt Harris, our Inside High School Sports Insider. Matt, the state semifinalists came out of the 12-5A Division II, and that was quite a playoff run for Crosby last year. What do you think is going to come out of this district this year?
Yeah, man, that Crosby run is one that I know I won't soon forget. The Cougars went through Texas High, Huntsville, and Marshall in back-to-back-to-back rounds, all top 5 teams in the state, before facing off with Liberty Hill in that classic overtime state semifinal game where the Cougars won in overtime to get to a state championship. The run was incredibly impressive, and perhaps more so on top of that, they didn't even technically win their own district in 12-5A because they finished 6-1, technically tied for that district title, but they lost to Nederland, and Nederland owned that tiebreaker. So if we're looking at technicalities here, Nederland was the district champion. So as far as Crosby goes, Daniquez Dunn was my district MVP last year, so I'd say that pick turned out pretty well. But him and Reggie Branch were fantastic for Crosby, but they were both seniors, so they're on to the next level. And they're going to have a lot to replace. But they do return defensive MVP for the district in McCoy Casey, and they return 4 all-district players from a season ago outside of Casey, including wideout Cameron Kirkwood. So they have a little bit of talent coming back, but they're going to have to figure out some spots at quarterback, running back, and some other places as well in terms of replacing some talent from that last year's state squad. And then as far as Nederland goes, they get the most attention, I think, in this district heading into this year. Because they did win the district, and they return a lot of talent that could help them make a deeper playoff run than they had last year.
Excellent. How about, you mentioned all the graduates at Crosby. Is there any players inside the conference there or district that you have an eye out on that may step up?
Yeah, so I mentioned McCoy Casey is a defensive MVP. He's going to catch your eye. He's coming back. And so I've got to say him at Crosby, as well as Kendon Fusslier, I believe. I could be saying that wrong. I hope not. But he's a wide receiver and a linebacker at Nederland who was the overall district MVP. He's returning. He could carry Nederland to another district championship and perhaps make a deep playoff run. One other player I'm looking at is at Barbers Hill, who finished 6-5 last year. Maybe a little bit of a down year by the Eagles' standards. But they returned Teron Pierre at wide receiver, and he also plays cornerback, and he was at least tied for the district newcomer of the year last season. So if they can fill in some spots around Pierre, Barbers Hill could be back too. So that's 3 teams that I'm really going to be looking at the top of 12-5A Division II that I think can make this district really interesting.
Excellent. That concludes our coverage on Division II 5A. Next week we'll try Division I. See what kind of Houston area teams you think might be kind of pushing through on the deep playoff run. So thank you very much for joining us this week.
Yes, sir. See you next week.